So, in this week's cheeky markets, even though Bitcoin's price action has been stabilizing, there is still some room to actually go to the downside. When talking about altcoins and cryptocurrencies in general, we have seen that they have lost a lot against fiat. However, there's still an opportunity that these altcoins can have some dominance back against Bitcoin. This could potentially create some good opportunities to trade them in regards to Bitcoin. Finally, in this week's crypto news, there's a lot of bearish bias against Bitcoin's price action. McAfee is actually in jail for a second time, and Ripple's CEO expresses some concerns regarding Libra. So, if you're curious about it, just chill and keep watching. Hello everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, and this is your host, the Cheeky Entrepreneur. So it has been a very quiet week. I think we have been going lower in the price action, but it has been quite steady, to be honest. We have not had a lot of really crazy news over these weeks, but there's some crypto news that I actually would like to talk about. But in any case, guys, let's just jump into today's Bitcoin price action in the daily chart. So once again, guys, I'm gonna be talking about a lot of indicators, and these have been holding truth in the past couple weeks. And also something that I would like to mention is this is another reason why I'm doing only weekly video recaps, and the reason is because I'm a swing trader, and as a swing trader I try to take the bigger picture into considerations, and this is one of the reasons that even though that I'm repeating myself over and over again, these indicators and this signal still hold true. But in any case, let's go once again. As usual, I'm gonna be talking about the bearish side and also about the bullish side in my analysis. But first of all, let's talk about again this 20 EMA, this purple line. We have said several times how it had held so much support in the past, but once that we have broken it to the downside, then there was an opportunity to actually shift the sentiment. Now, I mentioned in my past week that we have retested this resistance once again, and it's not surprised that after retesting that line, the price went back down and then even pivoted a little bit back up, and again we found strong resistance in there. So this is a confirmation that the price might be actually heading lower. Now, the 20 EMA is not the only or the most important EMA in my opinion. The 50 EMA is again one, at least in the daily chart, is a very strong support or resistance line. Again, it has been that, well, the price as you've seen, it has been way above the 50 EMA. We have found actual resistance around here, and then when we actually try to break that line to the downside, what we actually had, or how the price behaved, is that it actually went back up because it is a strong support level. But now, having said this, after we went back up, we found resistance from this 20 EMA. We went back down, actually breaking it once again, and now we're consolidating below that line. And if that's not enough, we actually tried going up, and that's where we found again some resistance from the 20 EMA and also some resistance from the 50 EMA. And this could be a very bearish indicator if we actually have a cross from these two EMAs and the price still goes back down. Now, the last thing again that I mentioned is this RSI resistance box. In this case, it was a strong support way before. Now we have broken, and as you can see, and as I mentioned in my last week's video, is that we are gonna find some resistance from there, and just similar to what I said, it actually is going back down. We found some resistance in there, so the price potentially could head back lower to these levels that we have mentioned way before, the 8.5K, just to fill that futures gap. But in all honesty, if we actually break to the downside, it's very difficult to pinpoint where exactly we're actually gonna find support. And I say this because taking a look at the bullish picture, yes, we have a very strong support. We're actually at very strong support, and I would not doubt that after this video is up, or maybe even tomorrow, this is gonna be completely different. We're gonna find out if we have support from this line that we're currently in. It's around the 9.5 9.6 K, but this is not only a support line, it's also a very important Fibonacci retracement level. It's the 0.38, well, the 38% Fibonacci retracement, which could have a great significance for the bulls. Now, of course, even though this is a very strong support, if it fails, just as I mentioned before, all support will become new resistance. So if we break to the downside, there's no doubt, at least in my opinion, that we are gonna head to the next level. This could be initially the 9,000 level once again, but potentially it's gonna go all the way down to 8.5, 8.4 to these next support levels. And you know that I always want to take a deeper look into the price action. So if we head to the 4-hourly chart, we can see that first of all we have had this cross, EMA cross, and this again could have a bigger significance because we not only cross down, but we also find a strong resistance around that area. Now, another thing that I want to talk about is that we're actually trading in the bottom part of this resistance, and usually when you want to find resistance or you want to find support, you actually want to have strong movements. For instance, when we went back down here, we found support in here and we went back up straight away, and it's the same case, for instance, in here we went back down, we found strong support, and then we head back up. But usually when you start trading around a resistance level or around a support level, it usually means that you're gonna break to the downside. And us trading right now below and quite consolidating here in below this what was a support box, lets me think that we actually could head back down, because we could start developing this kind of bear flags that only repeats them again and again, and then they start forming this kind of trend. So this would make total sense if we actually break once again to the downside. And as I mentioned in my well, in the previous chart, we could retest this kind of a 9K area, which is this support box, which would be very interesting to see if we find support in there or if we are actually breaking back down. And again, just as the past week's video, two things. The first is again this RSI support, and it's been incredible how these kind of support lines and support boxes, or well, in this case resistances, have play out so greatly. I've mentioned this resistance line, which became support in here for this double top, then it has become strong resistance once again, and again you see here that we didn't have enough momentum to the upside to actually even retest that. We went straight back down, and again this is just another indicator of how bearish the price is getting. And I'm just gonna say that we also have a strong resistance from this Ichimoku cloud. Again, it's not one of my main indicators, but it's a good let's say average of where you might find some resistance. And with all these indicators pointing that the price might go down, it's not very uncommon to see a red Ichimoku cloud. Now again, on the bullish side, here the only thing that I can say is once again we have depleted stochastics. They are actually oversold. But again, this is kind of a display of catching a knife falling down, because you don't know where we're actually gonna find support. A lot of people might say, yeah, we might find support from this box, we might find support from the golden box that I mentioned, the 8.5, which it doesn't have a real significance per se, but it's mainly a goal because I said that's like the at least the target for taking profits out of a short, just filling those future gaps. But in any case, it's very difficult to say, because we might as well come back down to this support box and then head back up. And again, you can always swing trade smaller movements between support and resistances if you use correct risk reward and also correct risk management. You should be able to be so profitable in all these swings. To be honest, this is why I love crypto, and I've been doing some back testing on commodities, on forex, and also on stocks. But to be honest, there's no more interesting market than cryptocurrencies. That way, the volatility, it makes very profitable trades in a shorter time, so you're able to put more trades if you use, of course, correctly risk management. but in any case, this is why I'm trying to diversify and why I'm still focusing on crypto as my main asset to trade. Well, in any case, guys, let's jump again into the altcoin section, and this is very interesting. As I mentioned here in the crypto dominance, the Bitcoin dominance charts, it's a very interesting one. We actually broke down from this channel that I mentioned, and I said that we were having strong support from that box, but we actually broke down, and now we are testing this 20 EMA. And as I've said before, this 20 EMA could have a lot of significance. Now we're kind of trading around here, so it's gonna be interesting to see if whether we find support and if we actually go back up. But in this case, to be honest, I'm doubting that, because we already broke down from this support level. We already test back up. Now we're kind of consolidating here, so it wouldn't surprise me if we actually have something similar to a bear flag around here, and we actually trade a little bit to the downside. And again, well, in this case, just as per normal technical analysis, the bullish sentiment, or at least in Bitcoin dominance, would be upon these support lines, and it would also be bound to these EMA lines. For instance, here the 50 EMA, so potentially we could go back down, we could test this resistance, go back up, or we could go all the way and test this exponential moving average and then go back up, or we could even go all the way to test this strong support box, which I've highlighted around the 63% level. Well, but in any case, it's not only the Bitcoin dominance chart what's important, it's also the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. And I've mentioned this before. I mentioned how we actually retested this strong support. We actually bounced from there, but it seems that we're actually trading around this channel, which could have a strong significance. If we actually were to really break down, we could see a lot of altcoins bleeding in fiat terms at the very least, and I'm not quite sure what we can expect, because again, now all of these lines, the 50 moving average, the 20 EMA, even the 200 EMA, will be acting as resistance if we actually want to go back up. So it's gonna be very interesting to see. To be honest, in my opinion, I think we might go down once again to this support box, and then from there we might either see support and head back up, beating all these resistance levels, or we actually gonna go back down. But if we go back down, surely I've seen a lot of news, I've seen a lot of people that are starting to shift their sentiment into territories lower than 8.5k, at least for Bitcoin. They're calling 7k, a little bit less, so it's gonna be interesting to see where this goes after. But in any case, guys, just before I go into the crypto news section, I really wanted to talk about the different charts, and the reason is because someone on Discord actually sent me one post regarding altcoins, because in my previous thumbnails I've said, can we expect an altcoin run? And the only thing that I want to say is it really depends on what you're trading. For me, I've already told you guys, what I really want to do is more Bitcoin. I can't care less about what the price in fiat is. I'm really trading only in Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is my objective, and the more Bitcoin that I have, the better. Now, having said this, it's important for you guys to understand what you are trading and to really understand the chart that you are using. For instance, of course, if you are trading, let's say, leverage Bitcoin against USD, the chart that you're gonna use, of course, it's gonna be any time frame of the BTC USD chart in any exchange. Now, if you are actually gonna trade altcoins against Bitcoin, if it's against Bitcoin, you are gonna be having this as your main chart, at least for this swing trading. You're gonna want to take a look at the Bitcoin dominance chart, because this is what is gonna say what the price in Bitcoin is gonna be. If, of course, if the Bitcoin dominance goes lower, then the price per Bitcoin of the different altcoins is actually gonna go up. Now, if you're trading altcoins but versus fiat, the chart that you're gonna want to use is of course the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. And this is very important because when I was saying that we can expect an altcoin run, I'm not talking about fiat. I'm not saying that the altcoins are actually gonna go up. In fact, I do not care if altcoins continue depleting. If this chart actually goes back down and even all the way to the previous supports or even lower, I don't care, as long as in my trades, which I'm against Bitcoin in this case, the altcoins start earning more dominance and the Bitcoin dominance comes down, because I'm trading in Bitcoin, and this is really dependable on your strategy. I cannot make any recommendations, but because it's up to your trading, it's up to your strategy, and as long as you know what you're doing, I'm more than happy. If you want to trade alts, if you want to trade Bitcoin, if you're focusing on fiat, if you're focusing on Bitcoin, it really doesn't matter, because you have to develop your own strategy and you have to actually stick to it. Well, in any case guys, in this week's crypto news section, I actually want to talk a lot about the sentiment, so let's head up to the next headlines. Bitcoin price crashes $800 in minutes as bears eye 9K support next. Bitcoin price dropped $800 in 15 minutes, July 27, after a dramatic bearish move destroyed support at $10,000. Some have anticipated volatility continuing in the short term. On Twitter, the trader known as Crypto Cohen sounded alarm hours before the $800 losses. Could be a larger correction in play, could take a lot longer too. Longer than many would expect, hope, but good things come to those who wait, he summarized. Monthly Bitcoin price has lost 20%, Cointelegraph noting that end of year and longer term price forecasts remain bullish. Bitcoin price shuns volatility as analysts warn of potential drop to 7,000. Bitcoin price saw a rare spell of stability on July 22nd as cryptocurrency markets began the week on a broadly stable note. As Cointelegraph reported, opinions ranged from highly supportive to entirely dismissive, building on mixed messages previously given by Treasury Secretary Stephen McNaughton as well as President Donald Trump himself. Forecasting what could happen this week, commentators appear unconvinced that current calmer conditions would prevail. And guys, the only thing that I would like to point out again is when the media starts shifting into this bearish side. I mean, just take a look at these headlines. We're talking about, oh yeah, Bitcoin is crashing 800, oh, potential price action all the way to 7,000. For me, this is more of a bullish side, but again, from experience and just by taking a look at cryptocurrencies almost every day in the past years, I know that this asset in particular tends to overextend the sentiment. Again, when we were talking about this bullish sentiment, it overextended to the point that it was just nonsensical, and I don't doubt that with all this kind of FUD right now, with all this media saying that it's actually gonna crash, a lot of people are gonna be quite emotional and are gonna be selling all the way, potentially maybe even lower than we were expecting. John McAfee back in jail hours after release in Dominican Republic. Bitcoin proponent and United States 2020 presidential candidate John McAfee reportedly re-entered jail this week, just a day after his release in the Dominican Republic. Tweeting photographs of his confinement July 26, McAfee said he had been arrested a second time but did not give details about the exact circumstances. Despite being wanted by the US, McAfee plans to run for president on a broadly anti-establishment platform and is accepting Bitcoin donations for the campaign, which he runs from the boat on which he arrived in the Dominican Republic. And guys, I'm not supposed to give my opinion, but in this case, this is one of the reasons that there is still a lack of maturity, at least in the cryptocurrency market, because when we have people who are bullish and who are basically the spokesperson for the community, we have people like this, just crazy people. And I don't have anything against McAfee. He might say he might believe what he wants, and that's okay, he's entitled to his own opinion, but just the fact that we don't have very serious people supporting Bitcoin, it's a concern for the entire industry. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse concerned about effects of Facebook's Libra. Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of blockchain and crypto firm Ripple, is concerned about potentially stricter regulation for the digital currency industry that could result from Facebook's not yet issued Libra stablecoin. Garlinghouse said, "You just want to make sure that you don't get caught in the crossfire. It is important to me that when regulators start asking questions that they don't lump us into one big bucket." The same month, Garlinghouse argued that Bitcoin and XRP are not competitors. Garlinghouse outlined the key difference of two major cryptocurrencies, stating that Bitcoin is a store of value or digital gold, while XRP is a bridge currency that enables an efficient solution for fiat to fiat transfers. And guys, we've talked about XRP before, we've talked about Libra. I'm not gonna give my opinion once again on Libra. I already said that I don't like it, but again, these are some huge concerns in the industry because it's a different entire animal. What Libra and Facebook wants, what they want to achieve is entirely different from what cryptocurrencies in general are trying to achieve in this case. And because of what they want to do, it seems that they're gonna have a more strict rules and regulations. Well, but in any case, guys, I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, and only if you did, mind subscribing and also push that like button. We're almost reaching that goal of 100 subscribers and I'm incredibly happy about that. It's a pleasure to do these videos, and if this helps you in any way, it's even more rewarding for me. If you would like to support the channel, you can always visit the links down in the description, but why not follow me on Instagram as well? I always put the highlights on my video and also put intra or weekly posts in there, so definitely go in there and discuss some of the topics. I would really like to know your opinions. But in any case, guys, just as usual, I would like to remind you all, stay smart, stay bold, but most important of all, stay cheeky. Take care, guys.